Last week, sorry. Yeah.
Starfleet PC week. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Pragma was announcing a seed round with 100 million funding from Paradigm, but apparently not.
No, that's for wait a few months.
So much okay.
Okay, so I started the recording. So be careful with what you say. It can be used in the jury for the courts. So I'm going to share my screen just to share like the agenda. Can you see my Firefox window?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so welcome to Madara Community Call 9. So we will announce a few things. Basically, the main announcement will be our new mode of working on Madara, which will be sprint based. But before this, we want to like officialize a little bit the role of Oak on this project. He has been contributing a lot, and mainly in the area of DevOps and CI and all the infrastructure for our testnet. So we want to start something a little bit more official and new with it, which is like putting him officially as the reference person and the responsible for this whole area of the project. So it was already the case, but now it's kind of official, and it's something we aim to do more with like more contributor. Maybe we want to divide like the project in domain large area and put some people in charge of those, so they will be like the reference person for new persons that want to ask question, or I don't know, the RPC, the runtime, stuff like this. So well done, Ox. Thank you very much for your implication, and good luck with this.
Thank you.
Perfect.
You can say a few words if you want, Oak, to celebrate this.
No,
it's your moment. It's your moment. Celebrate it.
It's my moment to shine.
You had a shootout from Starknet accounts.
I have like 10 words to say.
10 words.
No, thank you so much for the trust that you are putting in me and in Lambda team. I think we can actually help you here a lot in the infra stuff. I've been also already doing it for the past couple of months, so I think I'm fine with do it. I think I'm good at it, so it's fine.
If I may add something related to the talk from Fede last week, I really appreciated the fact that he said something about the open source mindset, the collaboration, and this is not only empty words, because Oak is working for Lambda Class, and Lambda Class is building a competitor sequencer of Madara, and Fede is putting resources on Madara. So I think it's a very strong signal that it's not only empty words, and I really like this open source collaboration mindset that we have on Starknet ecosystem, and you are the representation of this. So yeah.
Great. Next topic will be the new workflow for sprints. So in the past months, it was a little bit chaotic in the way we organized the work. So we will try to use like good old methods that have been battle tested. And one of those is the sprints. So we are going to do 2-week sprints that last 2 weeks. And at the end of each sprint, we are going to do a new release. So we won't be doing a perfect semantic versioning, but we will be increasing like the minor version once every 2 weeks, because there will be obviously breaking change in 2 weeks. And so that will be the flow. What we want is to, we will still have like a lot of issues. There is more than 50 issues on the repository. Not all of those will be in the next sprint. So what we want to make different with the issues that are in the sprint, we want people that took those to like really commit on an achievement, on the fact that at the end of the 2 weeks, the job they said they will be doing will be done. And for more like less intense investment, you can still go into the like all the other issue and do some groundwork, some refactoring. A lot of things can still be done. But this sprint content will be like the main focus of the Madara core team during the next 2 weeks. And that's where we want like the most invested contributors to spend their time. Is there some question about this, some remarks, some ideas you want to share, anything?
Wanted to add something on that. So for the sprints and the people working on the sprints, as I said in the group, will have higher expectations on the quality, and also we expect some commitments. But of course, we still want to welcome new contributors and that people can do fun stuff, etc. But this will be those kind of issues won't be part of the sprint because we had issues in the past for people working on stuff that were blocking points like RPC endpoints, and like for example, someone say, "Okay, I will do it." Then 2 weeks later, we check and the person say, I don't have time, we assign to someone. And sometimes we did that 5 times on the same issue. So we want to avoid that. So for the priorities, things in the sprint, we expect some commitment. But for everything else that is not part of the sprint, there is no commitment. It's only for fun and for some money on only this platform for sure. But yeah, the commitment and expectations are not the same for the sprint. But still, we welcome fun contributions and without any commitment for non-sprint related issues.
Great. So next step will be like the presentation of the sprint, what we are going to do for the next 2 weeks. So I will first give a general idea, and then we will go over all of the issues and say a few words about it and explain what has to be done. So no, not this one. So the for this sprint, we want to do a code, kind of a code freeze. The idea is that we now have like a really strong proof of concept for Madara, but there is people that actually want to build on it and that can see their company using it. I'm thinking Pragma, Kakarot, people that have been working on the project for months now. So what we should do now is go from the POC phase to the production phase. So we want to get rid of all the bugs. We want a really clean code. We want modularity, all those kind of things. And to achieve this, we want to do a little code freeze and focus on refactoring, on testing and fixing the bug. The main focus of this sprint will be rewriting the end-to-end test to Rust. Oh, sorry, I have my phone. I will have to answer for a second. Adele, if you want to add something.
Yes, so yeah, the main track will be to rewrite the integration tests in Rust. So right now they are written in TypeScript, JavaScript, using a library called artillery. We want to get rid of that because it has, there are many reasons, but one of them is the context switching between the code and the test. So if we also have the end-to-end tests in Rust, it will be easier to basically switch from tests and the code. So yeah, that's the main reason why we want to do this change. Obviously, we will have a speed up in tests, but that's not the main reason. So yeah, you can continue.
Okay. I'm back. Sorry.
I explained the reason why we want to move to Rust end-to-end tests. So now you can explain the plan.
So the plan is to keep all our JavaScript tests for now in the CI and to gradually build during the course of the next 2 weeks a new testing flow, which will be based, which will be built in Rust. The idea for now, for the scope for this sprint is to test all our RPC with little scenarios, scenarii, as it plural. And So there will be, the way I imagine it is that we could have a working branch where we'll be breaking stuff and rebuilding our lib that we will be using to test depending of the need. And we don't merge immediately on the main branch. So we will be committing to this branch, and I want pull request to go there and gradually build a sympathetic testing suite. So the way I imagine it, but we can talk about it, is to create a test folder on the workspace root and add this folder as a test for the workspace. So this way, when we run a cargo test, it will be run automatically. Maybe it's, I don't know, is this debatable? Maybe we don't want this. You tell me. So there will be a crate with a bunch of utility method, which will allow us to write tests easily and that we will import in our tests. The idea will be to create like one file per RPC and to write the few tests for each one in it. And in the end, we will be able to remove the GS test and everything related.
I have a comment.
Yeah.
I think we should consider not using a Substrate API client at all. Why is that? Because this can be potentially some public good that could be used for other sequencers. Same way we have extracted the project to do the benchmarking of performances for the sequencers. This then can be extracted and used by other sequencers. Like the idea would be to build the reference test for StarkNet RPC, stuff like that. So yeah, I think we should take that into consideration.
So remove C, and we will just do regular curls.
Yeah, exactly. HTTP request. Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was something else. I saw the discussion on GitHub with Jonathan, I think, about the. I mean, I kind of agreed with Jonathan at first that this could create some circling dependency, and like we might miss some bugs. Like if StarkNet, basically, if StarkNet RS has some bugs, then we're pretty much fucked in that case.
Yeah.
So that was one of the interests of StarkNet JS, and also making sure that it's compatible with StarkNet JS, maybe like to raise bugs to their team, etc. So how do we go about that if we move everything to Rust?
It's something we discussed. So the problem to explain is that we will be using the same library to emit RPC call and to receive those. So if there is a bug, we won't see it because we will be compatible inside the bug on both sides. And if StarkNet RS move away from the standard, the common standard that all libraries should follow, we won't notice the discrepancy because we are using a single one. So yes, that's something we have been discussing. The answer is that it's not the goal of this project to do differential fuzzing for the libraries in the environment. So if somebody wants to do it, sure, but it's not what we aim to test. What we aim to test is like everything which is in our code base. So I think we will leave good with it.
Then shouldn't we just do like curl comments for every RPC endpoint and not go through StarkNet RS?
But then we will need to implement all the logic to sign transaction, to construct the transaction. We don't want to do that. So I think it's fine to assume that it's an external dependency. Our goal is not to find bugs in those dependencies. We can assume that they work. And if there is a bug, yeah, we can raise it. And obviously there will be an impact on Madara, but I think it's pretty much fine to assume that, yeah.
Okay. And so related to Greg's question about standard RPC test,
yes.
Yeah, should we also externalize this as something for everything, or?
Yes, exactly. So the first step for that is the specification. You cannot aim to have a standardized test, without specification. So from now, all the changes in StarkNet protocol will be governed and specified by SNPs. So this is a good step towards this. And yes, that means that we can now imagine to think about this reference test, and we should build them as public good. So we're thinking about putting them in StarkNet.io organization for people building full nodes and sequencers. So yes, definitely we need to start working on that. Yeah. yeah.
Okay. So we are going to test every RPC route we have defined in RPC core, except syncing, which is actually more like a consensus thing. And I don't see us testing it right now. What we want, the way we want the test to work is that you spin up a Madara node and then you call the RPC, but syncing is only available when you are syncing on a chain after it has been running by other node for a few blocks, hundred of blocks. So that's not really our main focus right now. So we will skip this one. There is this special case, which is that Starknet supports a pending block because it's the sequencer is centralized. We don't aim to have a centralized sequencer. We aim for decentralization. So we won't be able to answer the way Starknet does for this pending block. It's been explained there. No. But we will probably become obsolete once the system is decentralized. So we are a little bit ahead of schedule for this one. So for any call that is using the block ID as a pending block, we will return an error. So I think it should be like our standard way of handling it. And then what I did is that I list every RPC we have currently. And for each one, you have like the Rust implementation and a few things to test. So not each line is exactly one test to write, but it's like a sum up of like the main things to test. The idea was that anybody, even if it's not really familiar with the project, can pick up one RPC and write a bunch of tests for it. I invite you to go through them and add more things. So you can, in the discussion, like suggest new things to be tested for those RPC. The idea is not to do unit testing. So if there is something to unit test, it should be done in the code. Here we want to do end-to-end tests, so to send transaction, mint a block, see what's happened, see if the state was updated correctly. So it's more like safeguard than actually like testing all of the edge case and doing fuzzing and all those kind of stuff. That's not what we aim for currently for this sprint with those tests. So this will be the main track, the main focus. Is there any more question on it? Do you want to talk about it a little bit? Okay.
Okay. Before you move to the next topic, I wanted to say hi to Fede and welcome. Nice haircut. I would love if you could also speak about your sequencer and also the prover. Previously, I said that when you did your talk last week, I was amazed by the fact that when you are pushing for open source mindset, it's not only empty words because you are actually putting resources on a competitor implementation. So I think it's a very strong signal that it's not only empty words. So yeah, if you can take a bit of time to talk about your sequencer and the prover and how it can combine with Madara and the Starknet stack in general. So yeah.
Do you want me to do that now or afterwards?
Maybe we can do that after the presentation of the hackathon project, if you don't mind. But if you have something else to do and you want to do it now, so
I have like half an hour. If you don't mind, I'm checking also emails. I have like more than 10 emails to answer.
Okay, so then maybe you can do it now, so that then we can stay until you need to do
okay,
something.
As you prefer. I don't want to. So really,
sure.
I don't want to take much time from you guys. First of all, the reason why I sent a paper the other day to the Telegram group on also the name of the fund, the small fund. It's not the fund. It's like our own money. We're supporting people we like. It's called Ergodic, and it's related to the competition thing. Like in the last few weeks, many people told me, not many, a few people told me, Starkware on Lambda cluster competitors, on I don't know what. I don't see it that way. I honestly believe that competition is important. On having a free market to compete is important. If that wasn't the case, we couldn't be creating Starknet, competing with in some way with other L2s, or even Ethereum couldn't like create new things that weren't present in Bitcoin. So competition or freedom to create new things should be always in place. However, I do think that cooperation is a bigger evolutionary force. The paper I sent explains literally that. In economic terms, it shows that in most cases, cooperation is better for the two parties. On Ergodic, the name of our like small fund is related to that. It's related to the fact of creating things that are anti-fragile. I don't know that. That's a book. Kropotkin, yeah, the anarchist. So that's more philosophical. But yeah, in some way, it's related to that, like to the idea that if you want to create something on the long term, it's okay to compete on a few things, but there also needs to be common grounds that are shared by everyone. Nowadays, Linux, one of the biggest supporters of Linux in economic terms is Microsoft. When I was a kid, I didn't like Microsoft. I still don't like many of their core values, but I do respect a lot what they're doing with Visual Studio, with Linux, the operating system. So the short of it is like, I don't see Madara as a competitor. I don't see Starkware as a competitor. Maybe in 5 years, it might be the case in some projects. When that happens, it's very likely I won't be there. I'm very harsh and very direct for defending the values I have, but in general, I think we prefer collaborating with others. For example, Oak was hired to work on Madara. He wanted to work on Madara. We're not making money with what Oak is doing. We just like Oak and we like Madara. So it's more like my CFO doesn't like me doing those things, but it's a way of showing that we want to work together in concrete terms, like moving forward in terms of engineering rather than philosophy. Why I don't see Madara as a competitor? So the other day we had a bug in in some way in the sequencer, because we had an issue with the reading of the L1 contract, if I'm not mistaken. There was already a very good release. I want to write on Twitter something related to that. I'm really happy that Starkware and Starknet decided to be transparent. I think that's very good long term. It's bad on the short term because, yeah, it's a pretty fucked up issue. But that's normal. When you're building software, we shouldn't be ashamed of our errors. And it's something that Lambda could have done, Starkware, anybody. That doesn't mean we should accept it. We need to improve. I believe that the sequencer will have other issues. I'm pretty sure that the sequencer we have already in place will have other issues. It was written by a team that was growing a lot, trying to show their focus was showing that Starks was a way of scaling blockchains. And they literally succeeded, and we're here thanks to that team that created the sequencer. But if you check the code base of Python, it's pretty easy to see that it was a small team that they were like delivering very fast on. That's why I'm pretty sure there will be another failure. And that's why I think Madara, it's an amazing opportunity to have a app change on the L3 now, but also to have the possibility of using, I don't know if the word is decentralized sequencer, but something like that in case there's more issues. I don't think it should be to be completely honest, I've spoken about this with Abdel. I don't think that should be the core path. I think we should have a longer term design fully by the Starknet ecosystem solution. But if there's an issue, I will be the first one saying like we should be using Madara on Bell too. So I think it's a good alternative to the sequencer that we have right now, and it's the best solution that we have right now for the L3s. I was wrong. I used to believe that Tendermint was better on the Cosmos SDK was better, but the substrate wine is more flexible. To be completely honest, I don't like the consensus solution they have, but in general, it's more flexible and it has a lot of tuning. So why I don't see it as a competitor? First of all, because we don't have another option. It's the only open source option that the community created. So that's the reason. On what we're doing, yes, last week we had a meeting with Tom, that is generally in charge of coordinating all the efforts with the foundation, with Lambda class, Nethermind, etc. I think it was a very good call because it was one of the first few calls where we were not like rushing. There was no rushing. Actually, you had the opportunity to be more relaxed and talk about many things. We need more time to completely prioritize and decide what's the roadmap ahead. I think that will take 2 weeks to 4 weeks. That doesn't mean work is not being done. 0.12.1 is being done. There's already, I think it's 0.12.2, the change on the P2P and all that. But we're like, at least us, Lambda, we're like discussing with Leandro, what should we do next? In our case, what we're doing with the StarNet stack that is in our GitHub is we created a really small sequencer with a mempool, with an execution engine that can be swappable. Today, we merged the PR that lets you run RC20 contracts in Cairo native. I think we are 4 weeks with a team of only 2 people. We are 4 weeks to finish, 4 to 6 weeks to finish an alpha. The first alpha, it doesn't mean it's production ready, but the first alpha of Cairo native. I will probably add Federica, that was one of the creators of the Cairo VM, Bono for a few days to have that as soon as possible. So we will be able to.
Can you explain Cairo native for those who are not
it's
familiar?
really simple. Cairo was designed to be proven. It generates a trace. On that trace is proven via a prover called Stark prover, or Sharp in the case of Starkware. Now probably our name will be, what was the name? Platinum or something like that. I like the name. I don't know.
Yeah, Stark Platinum. Yeah.
Platinum. It's an anime thing, right? I don't know it.
Yeah, exactly. It's from Jojo
I,
Bizarre Adventures. Yeah.
Okay, I really like the name. So
the real name of the character is Star Platinum, and now we can do Stark Platinum. Yeah.
Okay, Stark Platinum. So, and I really like also the drawing. So it's a little bit like something I used to watch when I was a kid, Caballero del Zodíaco, the Knights of something like that.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that.
When I was a kid, I used to watch that. So what I was saying is that the Cairo VM generates a trace of the execution. It's pretty simple to understand. It's not that simple to implement. It's a virtual machine that tracks every step done by the virtual machine. The virtual machine is literally a machine with CPU, memory, etc. You track everything, and then you take that and you prove it. So the issue with that is that it's like, depending what you're doing, between 100 and 10,000 times slower, between taking into account the VM and also the proving, more or less, order of magnitude. I might be wrong by a 0, but it's like, let's say 10,000 times in comparison to C code. So the issue with that is that we don't want that being run in the sequencer, because the only thing that should be the bottleneck is running things on the VM and on the prover to generate the proof. So what we decided to do a few months ago, talking with Louis, with a view, was to create, first of all, an x86 compiler. So a traditional compiler from Cairo to x86, to the machine assembly that is running the sequencer. For what? So that the thing can advance as fast as possible, and then the prover can catch up. Because the prover, also something I forgot, can be easily parallelizable. It's really slow in comparison to a normal code base, but it can be parallelized. So you can launch more machines. There's a few gotchas with that, but in general, you can launch more VMs and more provers, and you can catch up with the sequencer. So we started that compiler, then we did it in LLVM with Abdel and Luca, and at the end, Lambda did it with MLIR. So what we're doing is using a framework created by the best companies in the world. It's a project, MLIR is a project that is almost $1 billion investment by these companies, more or less, in cash. It's like MLIR. It's very complicated. There's no documentation. It's very likely we will write a book, because I think we're one of the first users of this, and we learned a lot. We had some ideas beforehand. If we didn't, it would be so difficult to use it. But it took us a while. With Aki, one of our team leads in Lambda class, on the Barcelona team, we implemented this. It was pretty difficult. We had to rewrite it 2 times, but we're really confident we're in a really good place, and in the future it will be really easy. So this is a compiler that takes Sierra code and IR from the Cairo stack and translates that to ARM, x86, to GPUs in the future if we want to. There's a few edge cases where that might be interesting. or it can also run on a phone. I think there's not yet M1 support, but it will be there. So what I'm trying to say is like Cairo native is just like Cairo compiled to a native form without proving. So the sequencer we're running is modular. You can run the VM, the Cairo VM in Rust, or Cairo native. In the next week, let's exaggerate so that I don't say an incorrect day, but in 2 weeks rather than one, I should have a call. We will have a Cairo VM in C on a Cairo VM in Go. Only 1,500 lines of code to generate the trace of Fibonacci or factorial. It's a workshop we want to do, and we want to teach everybody in this call how to create their own VM. For me, it's really important that Lambda is not the only owner of the knowledge of how to create a VM. In the future, we'll do the same with the prover, but the prover is a little bit more, I would say, tricky because you need a little bit more knowledge of mathematics. And also, we already have the mini Stark by Andrew, amazing work by him. There's a few things that need to be improved there. We have Sharp and we have Howard. So I feel that the VM, only having one VM from Lambda class is an issue. So what I did is I created another team separated from the original team, led by Javier, one of our mathematicians and engineers, to work on this virtual machine. And we will be able to run in our sequencer multiple, like any of the VMs we want, and it should be like a flag. You have the mempool, and we already have hot stuff by Sonino, if I'm not wrong, the implementation for the consensus with the execution. And then you have the watcher and prover that watches and proves everything. For me, it's interesting that before having our watcher and prover working very well with our sequencer, we asked Oak to make sure that the prover was working with Madara, because we don't want the prover to work only with our implementation. And that's why I don't see things as competitors, actually. Why, for example? Because when we're doing our prover, if it's already working with Madara, we can make sure that it's working. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, can I ask you to conclude in a...
Yeah, sure.
We have 20 minutes in the call and we have demos to do and stuff.
No problem.
It's fine, Timothée. I mean, we can expand more unless the people presenting need to go. But yeah.
That's why I ask. I don't know how much you want me to talk about this, but let me know. The short of it is like we have a sequencer and a prover working.
Okay, very short conclusion. Thank you very much for it was super interesting. Really, thank you.
Send us the information for the workshop for the creating the Cairo VM. It sounds really great.
That will be posted. We're writing a blog post. It will be in our blog in the next 14 days, 20 to say the max. We're going to do a hacker house in Barcelona the first week of September after what's the name? After San Francisco Starnet.
Starnet Summit.
Yeah, we will be able to present it there.
Okay.
Amazing.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So going back to the not so fun stuff, the list of the issues. So basically the rest of the issues is few improvements to like the repository structure and the CI, like this one for the changelog, this one for the binary release. More CI. So during the hackathon, a lot of projects that wanted to do a demo faced a problem where if they removed the --dev from their Madara node at the time they run it from the command, it will crash when emitting transactions. The reason is that we had a bug that was only present in WASM runtime, WebAssembly runtime, and not in the native one. And this --dev that was everywhere in our CI executes the node with its native runtime. So we weren't able to detect it. So we have to fix this and find a way to also execute our test suite with the WASM runtime, because in Substrate, that's the official one, the one that should work more than anything. The other one is just there for performance improvement. Oak want also to have a better test for our Sharingan testnet, because it had been a little bit buggy at some point, and we we think we know why, but it should be great to have more tests. So maybe it will need help on this one. You can contact him if it's something you would be interested to work on, discovering a little bit the Sharingan testnets. Another bug for the CI. And then there is this one, which is that we have a big problem right now, is that we are not using at all the substrate weight, which means that somebody can pass transactions that are really, really big, or virtually an infinity of transactions in a block, and it makes the block explode if it doesn't check, because in substrate the weight is a way to measure the computation time. So you take your block time, which is like a 6-second block or 1 minute block, and based on this you can know how much weight, so each transaction have a weight, how much weight you can put in it. Because all our transactions are 0, you can put as many transactions as you want, and if you do so, the block will take too long to build and will actually exceed the block time, and it will fail, and the chain will end up being stale. So we have to find a way to use the Starknet fee as a base for to translate it to some sort of weight in order to protect ourselves against this. So it will be the Pragma team working on it, so Matthias and Apurv.
I think it might be risky to rely on the fees because some app chains might want to change the fee policy, and it can have a big impact on the weights. So maybe we should just do the substrate way and benchmark the kind of VM with different operation. And it's an open question. Maybe we should, yeah.
Because we are executing contract inside the contract, it will be the equivalent of a smart contract, which does not exist on palettes. It's a specific palette that handles the smart contract. So maybe we can give a look on the way they are doing this with Substrate. Yeah. I forgot the name of their smart contract system, but maybe it could
Ink.
be Ink, exactly.
Yeah.
So there should be an Ink palette which supports smart contract, and that they should be measuring the weight in a way or the other. So we will have to find out.
But I think Ink, it's not a VM. It's compiled to WASM directly, so it's more or less the same.
I actually created an issue with like all the so it takes Frontier as a reference, so they have this gas to weight mapping.
Yeah,
and it explains kind of all the steps that need to be taken to implement this. Of course, there are discussions like because right now we do not have a fee market yet. So like 100 gas. I mean, one step is 100 gas. This is like fixed, and yeah. So I guess let's just focus on this right now, but we might have to do changes in the future when there is a real fee market. But yeah, this gets complicated in that case.
Yep, because in Starknet, the fees, they are actually measuring the price of proving the code, and what we want to measure there is the price of executing it, which has no really reason to be the same. There is some operation like hashing that are expensive or I don't know, cheap.
Expensive to prove and fast to execute. And, yeah.
This is more about the built-in cost than I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could also add some tests to the palette Starknet. So Patrice is working on it. I have to move this thing. And then we have a few bugs that make Madara fail at some point. So there is this one. There is this one. And oh, this one also. Yeah, this was another bug. So there need to be solved in order for our network to be more robust and to support what is actually supposed to do. A last one is this one, make the client runtime agnostic. So right now so in Substrate, the client, which is the everything except the runtime, should be runtime agnostic in order to allow for runtime upgrades And also the way you handle different chain in a substrate, like if you have a test net, a main net, or multiple version of your chain, you don't want to rewrite or just change a few value in your client. So your client actually has to be runtime agnostic. So that's what we want to achieve. And it's not the case yet where there is a few dependency from the client to the Madara runtime. So we have to get rid of those. So I think we saw most of the issues. And another track which is there is to optimize the encoding and decoding time. So we are doing a lot of encoding, decoding, and there is a few ways this can be improved in terms of performances. So I listed a few of them there. Mostly it will be on our type, but also on the type of the fork we have for some of the ecosystem repositories. So the compiler, the VM, Lambda class VM, Blockifier, and Starknet API. So this is less prioritaire, less required. So we want to focus on the bug, but if you find yourself without something to do, you can always try to improve this. It's more a long-term thing, but you will learn a few things along the way, and it should be interesting to do.
Oh yeah, by the way, Fede, because you said that there is a bit less pressure, there are two things that could be helpful if you have the bandwidth. The first one is to move to the new standard type that Federica is working on. And the second one can be to add the support of the Pi execution in the KRVM for integration with Sharp. Yes, there is already an issue created in the KRVM repo, just in case you have some bandwidth.
On the type, you mean on the VM or everywhere, or like in the VM?
VM first, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. The I think the type is very important. The Pi part should be useful for you guys, right?
Or for everyone that will need, even for you, I guess. Oh, no, it's fine because you put one. I don't know exactly if Pi is only needed in Sharp because Sharp was is not Starknet aware and works with StarkX, Starknet. I'm not sure, but maybe you will.
Can we get more information on the Pi? We can do it. I don't have any issue, but I'm not fully sure that it's really needed. That's the point. If we get
for Starknet, it will be needed because it's in the Python VM, and right now it is still used to prove. So if we want to remove this Python service, we need to implement a service called the DPS that is currently in Python, and that needs that. Almost the equivalent of your watcher prover. This one is in Python, and it needs the Pi execution.
Okay, let me get back to you. We have to solve some from Starkware, but yeah, we can try
sure.
next week. I think it's good.
Okay. So the way it will work is you can comment any of those issue or send me a DM or anybody in the team, and you commit that it should be done in 2 weeks at the end of the sprint. And if you feel like you have the time to do it, we will give you the issue. And yeah, that's how I see things going on for the next 2 weeks. Is there any question on it? Do you want to comment on this sprint content? I don't know. If
let's move to the demo. Yeah, demo time.
Demo. So I will stop sharing my screen, and other people will be able to demo what they did during the hackathon. So we have 3 persons. We have Deoxys. We will have Approve with its on-click deploy node, and Michael, sorry, that builds the Starknet simulate transaction, which is really interesting one. And he met like a few problems with the architecture of Substrate, and maybe he will be able to tell us a little bit more about this. Who want to start?
Let's go.
I can start.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, let's go.
So, hello everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. desktop. No. Oh, sorry. Just a second. Sorry. Oh, someone can start before because I have some.
Okay. Approve, you want a demo?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'll just share my screen. Okay, I think I'll have to I'll restart. I'll just join again because I'm just enabling the share screen.
Okay, Michael then.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm gonna be quick. Right. So yeah, hello everyone. So I met a few people during the Hacker House, but like for everyone else, I'm Michael from the Bacon Bit team. We're in Starknet from the winter. We're working on the index and stack deep. And yeah, so basically my account is like crypto for 5 years, 1 year of Rust experience. So I built like virtual machine, layer 2 protocol and centralized sequence serve for Tez layer 2. So yeah, like I know like a bit, but it was my very first time with Substrate, so I struggled like a lot. But a lot of thanks to Timothy and Greg for the help, and I was managed to pull out something. So do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, right. So I want to like to like make something useful during the Hacker House. So I decided to add 2 things that are missing in the RPC interface. In particular, like 2 endpoints. It's the one to simulate transactions and to get to block traces. So why do that? So first of all, it's like to be compliant with the new version of the RPC spec. So those endpoints can be used to have like a more precise guess estimation, and you can also use it to debug complex calls because it has all the internal calls that can happen during the contract execution. So like finally, like for our case, to run an indexer on top of like a Madara chain, we need block traces because we also need to index all the internal calls with the respectful events and messages, if like any. So the like the result of my work is like 5 pull requests in different repositories, mostly because of the scale codec. So if you wanted to pass certain times in the like Substrate runtime, so you need to implement encoding and decoding for types you're using. And since it's like typically different types from Starknet API, from Blockifier, from Cairo, and like other places, you need to like to go those like particular places and implement scale traits. Yes, thanks, foreign traits, foreign types. So next, like what I discovered is that so I need to upgrade my laptop because it's like really like hard to compile Madara or like use Analyzer, like because I think like mostly because of the like procedure macros that Substrate provides you, like maybe of like a huge number because of the huge number of dependencies or other things, but still it was like almost like blind like programming, so as like in good old days. So it was fun. And yeah, like once again, so I had like real good support from like Timothy and Greg from Kakira team, so thank you guys a lot. Right. So just like a quick demo. So I have like a local Madara not running right now. So this stuff is not yet merged. It's my pull requests. So basically right now what you can do is to run simulation for all transaction types, for invoke, for declare, and for account deployment. So the main like difference from running just like call contract with a with ephemeral state is that you get the full trace, meaning that you have all the internal calls and like drop down like for events, for messages, for gas spend, and other type of things. So yeah, it works like for invoke, for deploy count, and for declare. So that's basically it. Yes, thank you so much.
Amazing,
And,
Michael.
if you have any
Thank
questions.
you very much.
Oh yeah, so like regarding the commitments that Abdel mentioned. So I'm like committed to like to finish this work and also the work on block traces, because we also depend like on our side on that. So I'll try to do my best to finish it like next week. Also, there are like some overlaps with the work Timothy is doing with like with this thing. But yeah, anyways, always like it's
Thank you
great
very much,
to
Michael.
work with you. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you
I
very much,
finished.
Michael.
Okay, approve or
Yeah, hopefully it works now. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So I'll just quickly walk through a presentation that we did during the StarkNet CC as well. Mostly quickly because I think most people already have the context over here. So basically, we already know what Madara is, so I'll skip this part. How this one-click app started, which Abdul gave the amazing name Madara Sukuyomi, is a few weeks ago. Abdul and Louis were having this discussion on Telegram that like having a decentralized and open, like having an open source node is good enough. But if you actually want to decentralize it, it should be easy for people to run it, right? Because if it's going to be very difficult for people to run a node, then we can just call ourselves Solana. So I'm just kidding, by the way. But the idea
By
was
the
that,
way, Louis is here. I don't know if you saw, but Louis joined us. So hey, Louis,
Oh,
this
okay.
is your moment. You are on the slide. Yeah.
Yeah, we also added a good feature for Louis in this, which we'll show in the end. But yeah, the idea is that it should be easy to run a node. It shouldn't be that like me to run a node, I should know about Rust, Substrate, and 10 other things. So this is how the experience was today. This is how we think it should be. Just one click and you should be able to deploy your node. So during the hacker hours, like we already had the basic version. I think you might have seen this before in the Madara group or Twitter, where you can just enter a name and start your node. But during this hacker house, we added options like configure the parameters of your node, install apps to interact with it, tweet about it, and a lot of other things. So I'll just quickly show the demo now. So this is the node right now, and I just need to enter my name and I can click up on wake up to reality and it starts. But wait, before that, if I click on this settings, I can play around with the settings of my node. So I can choose my port number, I can choose the course value, develop like this is the dev flag. I'll keep it 2 for now. And like a lot of other things, basically everything that Substrate needs in general, or even if we add things to Madara later on, we can add those values there. So now I start my node. If it's not already downloaded, a binary file gets downloaded. Thanks to the work that Oak is doing right now, we'll be able to, like just choose the release version and download the latest release, because all the releases, all the binaries for different OS will get built during the CI. So that'll be one good thing. Right now it's sort of hardcore to download the binary that I built, but yeah, so it downloads the binary. You can see the logs over here. Your node is running. So what we did during this hackathon was basically we created an app sort of structure here. So I'll just like, these are like multiple apps, and I can like, let's suppose I want to install the Lambda class Madara Explorer. So I click on install. It downloads the binary from the releases. This is from the Madara info repo. So while this is downloading, it's supposed to be a loader over there. I'm not sure why it's not coming, but yeah, I'll just show you why this is exactly like an app store. It's not like, we don't really create a PR and add an app to the app. It's actually like an app store. All you have to do is specify the link for your binary files. So this is the structure of it. Like you just specify, tell us like these variables, and the app will just run automatically. Like tell us where the binary files are located. Tell us how do we run the binary file, like what is the specific command that you want us to use to run it, and a few other things like the logo URL, and maybe if it has a front end or not. But the main idea is that as long as you can compile your app into a binary, integrating it into the one-click app is just adding one more JSON object. So for this case, okay, the Explorer is downloaded. So we install the binary and run it. So you can see the Madara Explorer is now working. So it says block height 43. If I go here, yeah, it says 43, just went to 44 right now. So the Explorer is working on Madara now. Let's suppose if you want to do the faucet, that thanks to Castle Labs. So if I play the faucet, it's already downloaded right now, so it won't download it again. and the faucet is running. So if I get the balance, I'm not sure if you can see it, but can you see the thing over here? Because for me, it shows the
I am not
zoom
able.
thing.
How do you see it?
Oh, can you not see my screen?
Everybody can see the screen. I'm the only one.
Yeah.
You don't see the screen? Yeah, we see it.
That's okay for me.
Okay.
just exit the call and join in again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And if
so
the app need a smart contract, will it also deploy the smart contract?
yeah, so there's another demo of that. So I'll just go to this after this one. So like right now I'm using the faucet. So can you, like when I click on get balance, you see the pop-up, right? It says 0.
Yeah, it says
Okay,
0.
because for me, I've seen the Zoom controls. Okay, so I click on get tokens, it sends a transaction now, and there we say I have a balance now, right? So it's actually interacting with the Madara node. And now for the smart contract one. So Pia was developing this game called Dojo Chess during the Lambda class hackathon. So if I just play this now, it doesn't have a front end yet. It will have one soon, hopefully. But if I click on play, it actually deploys those chess contracts onto Madara. How we see that is, again, I can just go to the Madara Explorer and you can see there's a declared transaction over here, which was 0 minutes ago. So it's deploying the Dojo Chess contracts onto Madara. So the basic idea here is, yeah, basically the set up your node very quickly. All new things that we keep on adding to the Starknet stack, as long as we can compile them through a binary, you can just add it over here and people can interact with it. You don't need to know anything about Rust, anything about Substrate. Just install the DMG file. I'm already working with Ben. We are very close to getting the DMG working. It still gives an error. Like you can run it if you want to, but it gives an error like it's malicious file and you have to manually approve it because it's not signed. We need an Apple developer account for that, but it's almost done. Hopefully we have it done next week. And yeah, we added this one obviously thanks to Ayush. So this is a did you tweet feature. You click on it, it automatically takes a screenshot of your screen wherever you are of the app, and it opens up Twitter for you. So if I just click on tweet here, for example, it should automatically show me the photo of the node. Okay, I think it didn't work for this time, but usually over here, it's over here, you can see the photo of the app. Maybe I can give it one more shot, but
Wow.
yeah, actually we're using Firebase for this. So I think sometimes it doesn't work, but if we change the database, it should ideally. Let me try it real quick again.
Clement asked a really good question in the chat. How does this
Yeah,
behave
here it is.
join an already existing
Oh,
network?
nice.
Approve. Just show the initial screen with the settings. You missed that part.
So the starting screen, right? Okay, let me just
Yeah.
So this is another thing before
With
I
the
forget that you
settings
can
there.
stop if you want. You can just, like, before this wasn't there, now you can stop the node, resume the node, close the thing and open it again. It'll resume from wherever you left off. And yeah, now I'll delete the node. Is it this thing that you're asking? I don't know what the question is, but I think Oak is saying that this is the thing that you want to see, right?
Yeah, so I asked if you were joining a new network or creating your own, and if you were joining a network and then you install an application, but the application has already been installed by someone else. What's going on?
Okay, I'll just explain it again. I'm not sure if I get the question, but the idea how this works is that you install a binary of the node and you run the node locally. So your node is running locally. The apps are getting installed locally as well. So the idea is that you run, if you want, you can choose to connect to a testnet. For example, I chose to connect to Sharingan, which is why if I go to telemetry, I can see my name over there, Apoor. If you don't want to connect to a testnet, just don't choose this option at all. Keep it blank, so you won't connect to any testnet at all. Just start your local node, and the purpose of the apps is just for you to make it easy for you to interact with your node. Like, does that answer the question? I'm not sure.
Yeah, so maybe the Dojo application is a bit misleading because I think this application is to face users at some point, and these users, they want probably to be on the same application. I don't know, because if you deploy contracts when you click on something and then two people, they run the node and they click and they deploy new contracts, it creates replicates of the same application, some sort of in the network. That's my concern.
Okay.
You can set that. You can set that in the application JSON, in the object. And you. So if you are, for example, you have Dojo and we don't want to deploy Dojo again, right? So if you are running in our computer, yes, we can deploy there in our computer and it will work. But if we are deploying it for example, Sharingan, the object for the application needs to be different, and the already done deploy should be specified there.
So basically, like for this one, like if I just explain with the config over here,
So you mean that you can update your own configuration file if you don't want to redeploy it, but instead point directly to a deployed address?
Yeah,
So,
you can.
so
So
yeah, go ahead, Apur. Sorry.
yeah, so I was saying is that basically I think the question was that if I'm connected in the Sharingan testnet, like how does it work? Like everyone keeps deploying the Dojo just interacting. So yeah, you can avoid that completely. We can have a new, like let's suppose Dojo just Sharingan version here. And let's suppose Dojo actually deploys it to some website like, I don't know, Sharingan.dojo.chess or something. Then what happens is that nothing will get installed. Don't give us any binary files to install. When you click on play, we'll automatically show this URL and people can interact with it on Sharingan. And if we go to the app section here, we can have like, like a special section for testnet apps or something like that, or just add it in the name, Dojo just Sharingan. And like, you don't need to deploy it. Then we'll automatically open that URL and you can just play it with other people if you want to.
So the idea is that if I have an app which run on a live network, I just have to ask my user to add this new item in their JSON file, and they will automatically detect my app and be able to interact with it.
So the user doesn't really need to add this. Like right now, yes, this is in the local repo, but we'll ideally host this somewhere on, like host the JSON maybe on GitHub or wherever you want to. And we'll just update the JSON and the user should automatically see it here. Like the user doesn't have to do anything. We'll just update the JSON, like we'll update the list of apps we have, and the user should see the new apps then.
Okay.
So probably the user can add, but it's like modding his version. So the ones that we currently have, it's the ones that we are supporting. So for example, the Dojo deploy on Sharingan, it's something that we are supporting. But if we want to mod it in some way, yeah, users need to add them in that JSON file.
Amazing. That's a very good job, Apu. Fede, you had some questions?
And before that, just thanks to Oak, Ayush, Pia, who made this all possible. But yeah, if there are any other questions.
Yeah, I had two questions. The first one is, did you have any issue with the Explorer? That was the first.
So the major part is converting to a binary, which Oak was handling. Other than that, it just once Oak converted to a binary, it just worked out of the box. So I think Oak is like the right guy to answer if there were any issues.
If you can, Oak, send any PRs to the original repo.
Yeah, I'm actually opening a PR to add the Docker images in our CI.
Perfect. We will also add integrations with Juno and Pathfinder to be able to see the contracts and all those things and to pull the
Yeah, I think one thing was when we converted into a binary. So either we can have, like I think we were discussing that either we can have Postgres within the Madara Explorer binary itself, or I think we were discussing if Oak
we can't have that. It doesn't make sense for you to package the database inside the binary for deprecation.
Or like in case if maybe Madara Explorer can use some other form of DB, like I think like if Substrate uses Rocks DB or some other form of DB which is easier. I'm not sure. Like, does that
no,
help?
but FlexDB would not be a good choice for
not exactly
for any relational database, not a key value store.
I would use Postgres because if not, it can be really slow if we have a lot of relationships. Running Postgres,
yes.
Many of the people in blockchain don't like Postgres. I think it's one of the best open source things on earth. But anyway, the second question I had is like, do you think that this could? I see that with Lambda we want to do a lot of like hackathons or like teaching people Cairo. And one of the issues we had it was that it was difficult to install Cairo. Now there's better tooling and all that with Scarab and the rest. But do you think you can mod this a little bit so that people can launch their own like testnet with Madara and we can deploy contracts and use it more for education purposes? Does it make sense? What do you guys feel like? Maybe it's useful to like, you launch your own testnet, you can deploy things, you can see it on Explorer. There's not
but that's what we've done.
Yeah, but I understand.
We changed the RPC for our local host and we check all of it.
Yeah, but what I'm trying, it's okay, so I wasn't clear enough, sorry. What I'm trying to say is like, do you think there's any way of integrating this even more with something like the Stark, what's the name? Stark 101, no, what's the name? I forgot the Stark.
So basically, like we could add, it makes sense. Like we could have like something like, like the base camps we have. So all the tasks that are over there can be something within this, and you can like interact with it and see like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, I can see the contract getting deployed, and maybe a section just to make RPC calls. Like I click there and I can make my own RPC calls and see the results. So yeah, that makes sense. I think like first once we have Madara a little more stable right now, and we can add all those things, because I'm not sure if, like Madara is not the best place for people new to Cairo to test as of today, I think. But once I think like we have a few things more stable, then can definitely be a very good feature for people to like learn Cairo.
I think the first interaction, no, you're right. It's better to do it like on the command line and all that. But the second one, when you want to play, I actually believe it's even better than the testnet, because you can see like you're running everything. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but we would love to use this on for work.
It's actually I think it's really good because it creates an ecosystem almost like Ganache for Ethereum. So you can have most of the things here, and you can code here and see what's happening and all that. Yeah, for sure.
I agree with Federico. I guess you kind of meant like just making like, you know, super detailed tutorials, right? Like just like from run everything. And this is actually something that I was thinking about as well, and like maybe working on these like, you know, documentation of these tutorials. So we can definitely discuss it in more detail soon.
Yeah, I mean, if everyone thinks, then I think for sure, like we can do that. We can add, we can like have a discussion about what is exactly like what is the exact thing that we need to see here, and we can add it. It shouldn't really be that difficult.
And I forgot to say, amazing work.
Thank you.
Yes.
Obviously, thank you to everyone.
And yeah, I told to Fede that I think it would be great if you could have a variant of this working with Lambda class sequencer.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, it's like this thing is pretty pluggable over here. Okay, we might have to change a few more things, but if it can convert, if that sequence eventually converts into a binary, then at least the basic part is just changing the link over here, and it should work. And obviously, we can have other things as well. But it's, yeah, we'd love to do that.
Amazing. Next, Deoxys.
So,
yes. So just gonna share my screen. How can I share all my screen? Voilà.
So building a full node with Substrate is easy, but sharing a string is hard, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to present to Deoxys. Everything starts 2 months ago in a discussion between Antiro and Abdel, where Abdel asks Antiro that it will be cool to have a full node client based on Substrate and using the Starknet palette of Madara. So Antiro created a team with Zarbok, Betacode, and me, Sparky, and we started building Deoxys. So what we have now on Starknet, we have very good teams working on full node clients, but
they are not there. You don't have to say it.
Huh?
They are not in the call. You don't have to say that.
Oh, okay. So
I'm joking. I'm joking.
So we have teams working on full node clients, and as we can see, the benchmarks are not so good, and we try to do better. So this is Deoxys. So how it works? We have Deoxys boot node, which is the authority node that gets the blocks from the main sequencer, from the gateway API, and it gets it through a thread that requests blocks and push it into a queue. And all these nodes are on manual seal. So each time a block is pushed into a queue, it synced it. So we have these boot nodes syncing from the main sequencer, and we have now full nodes syncing directly from these boot nodes, and it allows to increase the time of syncing. Here I have some benchmarks. So as we can see, the sync time is under 25 hours. We have less database size. less average CPU, and we have the P2P. As so, the P2P is the feature that allows the full nodes to sync from the boot nodes and to sync and also to sync between the full nodes also. So why do we have these very good benchmarks? It is because we are using Substrate, which is very good, which is very good optimized, and also Substrate allows us to run the nodes as an authority node, a light node, and a full node. So I can show you a quick demo. Do you see my screen, or it is on Google Chrome now?
It's still on the slides.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I have to change it up. Okay, so we asked Apurv to use his app. So thanks to his very good app, we implemented Deoxys into it. So as you can see the screen now.
We can.
Okay, so we have authority node. So you can select authority node, full node, or light node. And when you run it, you can see the telemetry here. We have 2 boot nodes syncing from the gateway and connected in peer-to-peer here, as you can see here, 1-1. They are connected. And what did we implement into on the hackathon? We implemented the P2P, and I think
here the idea is that the second node, like Deoxys boot, it's at 6,000 and it's catching up on the other one.
Here I think it's getting it from the gate, the second boot node. The first.
Yes, the second one. The second.
Yeah, they're getting from the gateway.
Okay, and it's still syncing.
And still syncing, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a demo because we don't have boot node now running. But in our when we run the full node, it syncs 300 by 300 blocks in seconds. So it was very fast.
Okay, very cool. Thank you for the demo. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I have an announcement. Okay, so I'm very happy because actually I will have a new member in my team, and this new member is on the call. And this new member is, I will let the new member present himself.
Herself.
Yeah, or herself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hi,
exactly.
everyone.
I did not want to give a hint. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm super happy to be, I don't know, I think most people seen me before, but here I am. So let's fucking go, and yeah, really looking forward to it, and looking forward to contributing to yeah, Madara and other stuff, and working with you guys a lot. And yeah, thank you. Imposter syndrome level 80, by the way, but yeah, so I'm starting next week actually, so yeah, super excited.
Yeah. Amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and actually Lana has a lot of experience with Substrate. She was working with Parity, so the company behind Polkadot and Substrate. So yeah, very, very happy to have you joining the team, Lana, and very excited. So let's fucking go, as you said. Very cool. Okay. okay. I think Timothy, are we done with the agenda now?
We are good. I think we can ramp it up. I will stop the recording.